see something wrong.
Yeah, something's wrong. Something is definitely wrong. And what is going on has not worked and will not work to secure the sacred ancestral survival of humanity. In fact, it is an impossibility for the soulful essence of he and she to survive within a self-destructive nature that opposes the soulful existence of who we be as green earth solar conscious beings. The self-destructive nature we're talking about is the isms and schisms of self-asserted individualism, where the primary goal and objective is the survival of oneself above all things else, by any means deemed necessary, regardless of the adverse effects against others, Mother Earth, and all living things thereof. One has no real concerns beyond self, no true care for the mental, physical, and spiritual health and well-being of one's own being, or anyone else beyond satisfying the lusting greeds and appetites and desires of self. As each self functions within this self-asserted nature, just imagine 6 billion individuals focused on their own self-defined agenda. Then imagine groups and nations and social, economic, political, and religious systems perpetuating the self-asserting nature of isms and schisms that breed, seed, and feed conflict, confusion, and chaos. Imagine the level and degree of sexual violation, violence, war, and crime that would manifest. Imagine all of this running 365, 24/7, prime time. In other words, what all of humanity has been shown time and time again throughout history and must now come to clearly comprehend is that self-asserted individualism is by its nature cunning, deceptive, and divisive. Be clear that every attitude, value, behavior, and belief of self promotes self-survival, and as such, the individualistic nature of self survives by feeding off the life energy of others like a parasite, a cold-blooded predator, capitalizing on any opportunity to destabilize, exploit, and otherwise demoralize its victim. Thus, one seeks to dominate and control, to conquer and rule, to assert the individualistic will of self. We're talking about a warring, blood-spilling nature, a nature that inflicts sexual violation, violence, war, and crime as a way of life that breeds, seeds, and feeds conflict, confusion, and chaos. Be clear, within the consciousness of self, it is dog eat dog, every man for himself, and God for us all. Bear in mind, the nature of self-asserted individualism was born, bred, and fed off of a monotheistic male warlord culture. Thus, when it is said, every man for himself and God for us all, God for us all definitely talks about a monotheistic male war god nature, the warlord, who is indeed a vengeful, jealous God, the epitome of the self-deified nature. Thus, within the consciousness of the individualistic self, there is no focus on communal survival unless it is geared and designed to serve the whim, wants, and lusting desire that glorify the individualistic self. As a matter of fact, it can only manifest the reality of its nature, a nature of conflict, confusion, and chaos that fuels off of sexual violation, violence, war, and crime as a way of life. Worst case scenario, this corrupt nature has been forwarded from males into females, who then nurture offsprings, sons and daughters, who are conditioned to oppose the sacred ancestral communal nature of their own soulful essence. The founding fathers of this self-asserted status quo has claimed the supremacy of a monotheistic masculine nature that degrades femininity, a masculine nature that now faces depleted femininity as she nurtures even more depletion into the generation next. This is the parenting nature that has no mercy for any son or daughter who seeks to detox, purge, and heal from the toxic ordeal of the self asserting its will. This is the parenting nature of self-induced possession, domination, and control, where one will sacrifice or even crucify one's own in order to maintain one's investment in the status quo. We remind you here that self, by its nature, is the epitome of selfishness. And this has been going on for a while, to the critical point of where we are today, where clearly, unquestionably, and without a shadow of a doubt, something is wrong. Something is seriously wrong. Beware, to speak supreme truth is a threat against the deceiver's deceptions, and supreme truth shatters the misperceptions of the deceiver's believers. However, a sacred few must be the holistic living receivers and conceivers of green earth solar consciousness to secure the sacred ancestral survival of humanity. This call is for the divine and sacred few.
Yeah, green earth solar can bend. Rapping this rap says who knows when. Ain't trying to offend those God-fearing men who told us woman was the birthplace of sin. And then after a while they crucified her son child, made her bend, waver and bow. Holy cow, must have been odd. She forced to worship the facade of a vengeful, jealous, monotheistic God, spewing curse upon she as if she was an enemy. She, the mother of humanity. Who, why, when, where would such a mentality come to be, if not from a cold, pale self, deified male who condemned the essence of she to elevate his false sense of supremacy? Yeah, he would address her as lower and lesser, feeling high and mighty above. She unable to love her from birth and Eve. You see, he was said to be birthed outside femininity. This is what the OC lady saw when she examined the fatal flaw of those who broke divine